Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us for another session of The Sacred Wound as a Portal to Your Awakening, Embracing the Dark Night of the Soul, where you will learn from incredible teachers, spiritual mentors, astrologers, mystics, mediums, shamans, and healers with a world of knowledge, gifts, and talents ready to share with you to help you on your spiritual and healing journey. Before I begin, I would like to do an acknowledgement to country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we are all meeting on today and thank them for their continued custodianship of the many lands, seas and waters that we all have between us. I would also like to acknowledge our elders, past, present and emerging, and thank them for their guidance and wisdom that they continuously provide for us. Thank you. Today's session, we are talking to someone who has played a very special role in my own healing and spiritual development journey for the last 20-something years. He has also been one of my teachers for astrology. It's the fabulous Marc Laurenson. Let me tell you a little bit about Marc. He is the creator of Sydney Astrology School and runs his own consultation practice, Marc Laurenson Astrology. He describes his astrology style as evolutionary, with the goal of empowering people and guiding them towards more fulfilling lives. Marc is a popular speaker on the circuit, including the ISAR conference, the FAA conferences, Breaking Down the Borders online conferences, Synchronicity University, and OPA, which are all very well known in the astrology community. He has also written for many publications, including Wellbeing Astrology and the FAA Journal. Please welcome Marc with today's topic, the healing power of astrology. Hi, Marc.
Hello, Charlie. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I couldn't have a summit without you.
this is great. I'm really, really excited about doing this because I feel that astrology, a lot of people that know a little bit about astrology think it's very much about fortune telling. It's very much about fate and, what's going to happen when you're going to meet the man of your dreams, how many kids you're going
Right.
to have, all that kind of stuff. I think the old-fashioned idea of the fated astrology still creeps in.
Mm.
And what I want to talk about is how astrology in the 20th century, particularly, but definitely in the 21st century, has really changed. It's really changed an understanding of what our birth charts and what astrology is all about. Because basically, our birth charts are a map. They're a guideline for us as souls. We come here as souls on a mission. We have an agenda, so to speak. And every soul comes here and wants to evolve and expand and develop and wants to become the best version of itself possible. And so we devise the solar system to be in exactly the right energetic vibration that we need to incarnate, to live into what we call our soul purpose. And so we have to start to look at our birth chart like that. We're looking at it as a guide to become the best versions of ourselves possible. Basically, that's what it's about. So if we do go with what our chart wants us to do, if we do come in alignment with all the things that the planets are trying to teach us, we feel good. We feel like our life's working and we feel good to be ourselves. But what happens, unfortunately, Charlie, is we're human. We come in with these bodies and we look around in this environment, this earth environment, where there's a lot of tough stuff that we have to deal with. And we panic a lot of the time. We're in stress and we're anxious a lot of the time and we're worried. We're worried about money and survival and parents and kids and looking good and all those kind of silly things. And what I want to say about that is that we are getting in our own way. The chart is actually trying to get us to go downstream, to swim with it downstream. And we're splashing around and we're swimming upstream. We're swimming against it. And this is what causes our problems, okay? And so when we have a chart, when we have a birth chart, we've got to remember it is a map, it is a guide, it's not going to do it for us. So the ball is back in our court with how we're going to be playing what's going on. So the more we splash around and the more we resist and the more we're frightened, the more we're going to create what we don't want. And the more we relax and the more we go with what the chart wants us to do, the more we feel on track, so to speak. So the healing side of this, the healing side of astrology, is that astrology is constantly pointing out where everything is coming from. It will actually say, that's where you've got the issue. That's where you've got the problem. Now let's talk about how you're going to deal with it, or how you're going to fix it, or how you're going to heal it. Everything in astrology is about being able to understand who you are by the chart, being understand your way of being able to get to the highest point possible in your life, and having to face earthly stuff along the way, and how you're going to be dealing with the earthly stuff along the way. Now, if we are growing, if we are evolving, if we are here to learn, how do we do that without challenges? We have to have challenges. Challenges are a part of being here. We're in the land of contrast, and we have to be faced with stuff that we have to overcome, or that we have to triumph, or that we have to transcend. We have to be faced with those things. And the chart will actually point at them. The chart will actually say, this is an area that you need to jump. This is an area where you need work. And so a lot of these areas for you, during our life can be quite painful. And I don't think there's anybody on the planet who's actually had a life without any pain. We've all had pain, some more than others, some at a higher degree than others, but we've all had pain to a certain degree, okay? And so when we have pain, rather than actually going down with it, and rather than actually becoming the victim of it, we have to actually start looking at, no, I'm in charge of this. I'm in charge of my life. I'm in the driver's seat of my life. I'm going through a painful time, or I'm having a painful experience. Rather than actually being the victim of it and feeling something's coming at me, and I'm having to deal with something coming at me that feels out of my control, it's like, no, I'm going through a painful time, but I'm in control of this. I have choices to make here. I have choices to make on the level of, am I going to allow it to annihilate me? Am I going to allow it to swallow me up? Am I going to take it for the rest of my life and live in this pain? Or am I going to use this pain and turn this pain around to empower me? Am I going to use this pain to wake me up to something that I didn't know about before? To come to a kind of like an aha moment, or a major conclusion around something that I might have been neglecting, or I might have been staying in the fear of. And this pain's brought it all up for me, and now I'm actually seeing it for what it is. So I can do something quite magnificent on the other side of this pain. I can actually take this pain and use it as my power. And so we've got to remember that everything in the chart, everything in the astrology chart is always pointing to that. How you can become empowered by your challenges, how you can become stronger by your challenges. Sometimes how you can become more compassionate by your challenges, how you can become more loving by your challenges. So everything in astrology is talking about how you can be healed along the way in life. And then, of course, hopefully, not all of us, but hopefully, we can actually be healers for other people as well, and we can do that in so many different ways. Not everybody is going to do it in a classic way. You can be a healer for somebody else just by being a good friend, just by being a good listener, just by being there for somebody. You're being a healer. That's who you are. And so as you're being healed yourself through your own life, you can also, rub off on somebody else and be a healer for them as well. And that's huge in your evolutionary trajectory. It's huge in your leap towards what you've come here to do. What we get confused about, I think, is that we tend to think that everything is about the outside world. Everything is about how we look on paper. Everything is about our accomplishments, and everything is about what's going on for us externally. We don't really look at the kind of people we are. We don't really care about the kind of people we are, as long as we're getting all the trimmings on the outside, But really and truly, it's the other way around. I mean, it's great to have the trimmings on the outside. Nothing wrong with those. And if you do well in things, and if you have a great life, externally and all that kind of stuff, that's fabulous. Good on you. That's terrific. But that's not what you're here to. That's not what you're here for. You're here. You're here to become a person that you can be proud of. You want to leave this planet at 104 with a great big smile on your face, feeling that you became the person that you wanted to become. You know, you really like the person you were. You really like that person. And that's what you've come here to be. You know, you've come here to grow and to evolve on that level, you know, on a personal level. And to come into a place of being able to feel that you rubbed off on the planet in any way you can, everyone's going to be doing it differently, that you rubbed off on the planet in a way where the planet was affected or impacted by you. And you can do it one person at a time. You can do it in the family. You can do it in a big way. You can do it in a very local way. But however you do it, it makes no difference to the universe. The universe sees one act of small kindness as important as doing something communally and big. So there's no difference. So there's something about us needing to be very, very aware of this is where we want to go. And the chart's always pointing at different areas with how we can do that as well. So the healing side of astrology is big, it's huge. I spend a lot of time in my client work, you know, because I'm an astrologer that has quite a large client base now. Doing lots and lots of work on the healing side of things, you know, talking about the healing side of astrology and talking about how people can heal themselves and become more better healers themselves for other people in my client work as well. So,
Well, I have to say there, Mark, in the intro, I had mentioned that you had played a large role in my own personal journey. And just with everything that you are mentioning there, and even with some of the other speakers, a lot of the things that comes up is that this idea of awareness that can help so much when you're in a healing journey. And I remember way back some of my first readings with you when I really didn't have much of a clue of astrology. And I think that's important to say, because I think sometimes people think they need to have an understanding of an astrology to have some kind of a reading, whereas I really didn't when I first started out.
most people don't.
That's right. And I didn't need it. But the things that would often happen for me that was the most profound would be that whatever challenge or craziness or chaos that I was going through at the time, or just a feeling of not knowing where I was going or why I was doing it, you would just talk about these, you know, the planets and the energies they were calling in and where they were and what dates they were. And I would just be amazed at the fact that it was exactly what I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And just that awareness in itself was so comforting, because it took away that idea of, I don't know what I'm doing and or where I'm going. And that in itself was definitely helpful to keep steering me in a direction of thinking, well, at least I'm not just out here winging it.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of astrology. That's wonderful, because people do come to me with absolutely no astrological knowledge whatsoever. Most people come green as grass. And so they're going through stuff. They're going through stuff. And when I look at their chart, I think to myself, this is exactly what they need right now. This is exactly where they need to be. So here they are thinking they're lost, and they think they're splashing around and all that kind of thing. And it's kind of like you're right in there, you know, you're right in exactly what you're going through right now. And so people would come to me at that particular time to wake up, basically, you know, to actually go, oh wow, you know, I thought that I was so off track, you know, I thought that I was so being rushed down the river, you know, with with this crazy current, and I'm realizing now that I'm exactly where I need to be. And then we can start making choices from there. You know, we can start actually looking at the chart and actually looking at what the chart is wanting to say. Every single planet is a teacher. Every single planet is a teacher in its own way. They all come from very, very different directions. They're all talking about very, very different things, but they're all teaching us. And we need to look at each planet and what each planet is saying, and how we can actually come on board with what the planet's all about, and then make choices from there. And as I said, the choices are in your hands. You know what I mean? The ball is in your court. There is nothing going on in the world that is happening outside of you. Everything is happening through you. Everything is happening through your mind, through your heart, through your feelings. And if we can come to terms with being able to change the trajectory of our lives, or a perception or just an emotional understanding of something through us, then you watch our lives start to all of a sudden start to morph into something very, very different. It'll start to morph into something that actually looks like, oh, wow, look what's happening now. I'm actually moving in a direction that feels a lot better. Or I'm actually seeing things a lot more clearly now. And that's the beauty of astrology, and being able to come to an astrologer that can actually do that for you. And so nobody's a victim. Nobody's really lost. Everybody, even if you are feeling lost or if you are feeling victimized, you really have to come to terms with the understanding that everything that's going on in your life is not trying to get you, is not trying. People are thinking, life is out to get them, life is out to attack them. It's not like that at all. It's quite the opposite. If anything is happening in your life that is hurtful or painful or frustrating or making you angry or whatever, all those negative feelings are your number one barometer on the level of telling you have to do something about it. It's a little bit like, you got your hand on the kettle and the kettle's hot. It's kind of like, the heat is saying, get your hand off the kettle, basically. That's what it's telling you. And so anytime you're feeling negative emotions, it's pretty much saying, red light, red light, red light. You've got to do something about it. You've got to change. And so people want to keep their hands on the kettle. People want to burn their hands off. And you think, okay, that's a choice, but it's not necessarily a smart one. But again, it's a choice. And how long are they going to keep their hand on the kettle before they actually go, enough's enough? And when you come to an astrologer, a lot of people come to astrologers with their hands on the kettle, and an astrologer basically needs to just say, maybe it's a good idea to start taking the hand off the kettle finger at a time. And there'll be specific things in the chart. It'll come up, it'll say, this is in your relationship area, or this is in your self-worth area, or this is in your work area, or this is in your mother area. It will point at particular areas and say, this is where it's coming from. That's why I love astrology, because it does make things more specific. You can actually see certain areas that are lighting up. And so you can actually go down those roads. And it's always going to come from, a lack of love. Lack of love is always at the bottom of it. Self-worth is a big one, self-worth and self-esteem, a fear around that, around not feeling good enough. That's a big one. And survival. We live on the planet to survive. And living that way, living every day just to survive, just to keep our head above water, is kind of like not what we've come here to do. We've come onto the planet to live life to its fullest. We've got to eat life up. We've got to engage in life in such a profound and powerful way. And that's what we've come here to do. We've come here to do that. And the chart tells us that we've come here to do that. And so if we live here, if we come onto the planet and just try to survive, just try to white knuckle and keep ourselves, alive and keep money coming in and all that kind of stuff, not only are we going to live a very plateaued kind of life, but we're also not going to be experiencing much. And we're not going to be really living our lives to the fullest. And we'll get to the end of our lives and pretty much go, what was that all about, and have to come back and do it again, basically. It's that cycle of, I'm going to come back and try again. So everybody who's here, everybody on the planet at the moment is here trying their best in their own ways, of course, trying their best to be able to maneuver their way through life. Some people being a little bit more on the ball than others. I'm not making people good or bad or right or wrong. It's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. But it's about, I want to say, your happiness, your joy, your contentment, your feeling of being alive is basically in your hands. It is in your hands. And astrology will do its best to point you in that direction. It's always trying its best to actually say, look at this. try this, give this a go, you know, or this is where the problem is coming from. This is where you're holding back on, you know. It's interesting how we resist so much. We push away from life so much, where no is the first thing that comes out of our mouths. You know, we're always pushing against something. And do you know how tiring that is? You know why most people are living life very tired? Most people are tired. Most people are you know, frustrated, and they just don't have the energy. And some people are depressed. That comes from pushing away. There's so much energy that gets in you. You have to muster up to push away from life. It's more energy to push away from life than to actually glide with it. Yeah. So you wonder why people are so tired and not well and all those kind of things, because, you know, pushing life away from you, you know, that's a huge deal to do that on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, most of us are doing that. Yeah.
And I think, too, Mark, you were reminding me of a few times when before, as I was getting used to the energies and understanding the readings and going, I remember a couple of times that even words that you would say that the planets aren't out to get you. You know, they're not trying to punish you, or they're not trying to push you into a corner. It's that resistance that I'm doing that makes it feel challenging, but really they're trying to support and guide you into the direction that actually will feel better for you. It's
Exactly.
like, actually,
Exactly.
you've got us wrong. We're not against you. We're here for you.
They're all your friends. Every
That's
single
right.
planet is your friend. It
Mm,
really wants the best for you. And some planets are very confronting. You
mm,
know, they don't know how to do it any other way but face you with the truth. You know, it's like this is what you have to look at. This is what you have to address. And for a lot of us, we don't want to go there. You know, we don't want to have to actually really look at where our pain is coming from. We'd rather block it off. We'd
mm,
rather pretend it's not there. And then, of course, it just festers inside of us. It doesn't go away. It festers inside of us and causes chronic pain.
mm.
Rather than actually looking at it and actually going, yes, that's where my pain is coming from. And to be able to see that that pain can be your greatest asset. It can be something that you can actually turn around and actually use. It can actually be uh, something that empowers you. I always feel that on the other side of every single person's pain, and I've been through my fair share, and so have you, Charlie. We've both been through our fair share of pain. I wouldn't be the person I am now. Not saying that I'm anything special, but I'm a lot closer to who I want to be than I was a few years ago. But I wouldn't be the person I am now without the pain that I've been through. The pain that I've been through changed me so dramatically into knowing more about my life and the kind of person I want to be. And that was through pain. And I could actually point at the pain and go, oh, you know, that was such an awful time of my life, and live in bitterness and live in regret and live in, you know, a whole lot of victimized kind of feelings, which a lot of people will do, but it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to help you at all. But rather than actually go, wow, you know, that took me right down there. That took me right down to where I live. And it was exactly what I needed, because it really, really woke me up to the fact that I'm not going to allow that to take over me. You know, I'm not going to allow it to rule me. I'm not going to allow it to control me.
Mm.
That's happened. That's gone. And I now need to go, I learned my lesson. I know exactly what I had to learn from that. I knew it. I knew it all the time. And now that I know it, I can take it forward, you know, as a stronger person in my life, and hopefully be able to help other people who are probably going through something similar. And even if they're not, have that power and that strength to put the control back in their hands, in their lives as well. Such
That's
an important thing for to remember. And every planet is trying to do its thing um, that way. Pluto's a big one. You know, Pluto is always going to be, you know, about taking you right down to the nitty gritty of who you are, facing you with a lot of the truth of who you are. Neptune is always going to be about a release or a letting go of sorts, you know, a transcendence to spiritually rise above something. Uranus is about breaking free, you know, to break free from the chains that have held you back. You know, everybody's so caught up in living a life the way they're supposed to, you know, with the boundaries and the traditions and the wrongs and rights and the cultural and societal judgments. And Uranus is like, you know, screw that. I'm just going to become the person I really, really need to be. So Uranus is about authenticity, becoming authentic, becoming real, becoming true to yourself. Chiron is always going to be a healing thing. Chiron is not a planet. It's a little centaur that we use in astrology that is learning through its pain. You know, pain for it becomes an avenue towards compassion and love. Saturn, you know, faces you with the work you have to do to become responsible for who you are here on the planet. You signed a contract. You signed a contract with the angels before you came here. And Saturn's like, you've got to live up to that contract. And Saturn is very much about accomplishing something. So accomplishing the life that you want to live here, and you've got to work at it. You know, you've got to buckle down and you've got to do the work involved. Jupiter is about expanding your understanding of life. It's very positive. It's very optimistic. It's very much about the meaning of things, you know, having that feeling of optimism and having that feeling of confidence and just getting out into the world and traveling and eating life up that way and wanting to learn. Mars is our willpower, you know, get out there, you know, get out there, make something happen. Venus is love. She's about love and connection and beauty. Mercury is the way we understand things, the way we communicate, the way we take in information, and the way we pass on information. The moon is our way of being emotionally watered, emotionally nourished, giving us that, again, it's another version of love. You know, it's a feeling of being able to find love as a healing tool for ourselves and for other people. And the sun is our life force. It's that part of us that, you know, when we have a sunny day, when the sun comes out and everyone rejoices, that's the way we want to feel. That's the way we want to feel inside. It's all about our, you know, it's all about that feeling of vitality and that feeling of purpose and that feeling of loving who we are and loving the life that we live. So they all have something really, really positive to help us with. Yeah.
That's a perfect explanation too, so succinct. So I love that. Thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I know that it's a big topic and, you know, obviously we're limited with time, but I wonder if there's a way that you could we did talk a little bit about trauma and pain, and also just things a little bit about past lives. So I think it's very, very interesting that a chart can also bring in some past life material. So
yes, it
yeah,
does.
would you be able to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to. There is a point in a chart called the south node of the moon. It's a lunar point. It's not a physical body as such. It's the intersecting point between two orbits, our orbit going around the sun and the moon's orbit going around us. Where it intersects the moon's orbit going beneath, what's called the ecliptic, it gathers a memory, a motion memory from before. We call it a past life memory in astrology. And we bring it in. We bring it in this lifetime. We bring it in through something that we've experienced before on an emotional kind of memory way. And often it feels unresolved, or often it feels like it needs to be healed. Sometimes it can be quite painful for people. And we bring it back into this lifetime, and we feel that we have to do something about it this lifetime. And when I talk about it, when I'm doing readings, so many people say to me, are we talking about this life or are we talking about a past life? Because what you're talking about now is happening now. Or, you know, it's kind of like, well, I always say that, you know, series 2 continues on from series 1. So we do bring it in again. But there is stuff that we've been through before that we come into this lifetime to heal, okay? And astrology will really, really spend a lot of time talking about what that is. Now, I've had people who brought in past life guilt and past life shame around certain things that they had to deal with again in this lifetime in a way. I had a guy who was a gay man who couldn't come to terms with his being gay. He was an older man, so it was in the times when it wasn't anywhere near as accepted as it is now. He hid in the priesthood. He hid in the priesthood, so that was his refuge, so he didn't have to come out. But he was in pain. He was in total pain. It came in from the past life where he had secrets, that he was holding secrets back in a past life. Now, whether he was gay or not in a past life, we don't know. But there would have been something around sexual trauma or something like that came in with him in from a past life. And it feels very much like he came into this lifetime to heal it, because there would have been a lot of shame that he brought in from before. So he came to terms quite late in life with who he was, came out. It was very big, it was huge, as far as the church excommunicated him or whatever they do and all that kind of stuff. He lost a lot of friends along the way. But in the end, he was free. In the end, he was free. He was totally free. He's married now. He's married to a man now. And everything in his chart that was pointing in the direction of his freedom and what he needed to do this lifetime, he was healed. He was totally healed from this past life trauma that he carried into this lifetime as well. And so he actually now is a counselor. He counsels young LBTGK, all those letters. I can't remember them all now. But he's a counselor for young people who are going through the trauma that he went through, and being able to help them and be able to support them and be able to love them. So he's a classic example of a person who's brought something in from a past life to deal with this particular lifetime, having to deal with it again, and then coming out the other side of it. There's a big story behind it. I can't go into it all because it's too long, but there is a big story around it. But I've had lots of women coming in, with really difficult past life situations where they've given power away. They've given power away in their marriages, to family, all that kind of stuff, and then married the wrong person again this lifetime and lived a life where they've given themselves away until one day, all of a sudden, something happens in their charts and all of a sudden they go, I'm not going to take it anymore. That's it, finished, over. They cut the ribbon kind of thing. They're out of there and they start to live their lives again, but they bring it in from before. The whole thing, particularly around giving away power and value, that feeling of I need somebody, or I'm not good by myself, or I don't feel I have enough, and then I'll bring somebody into my life to do it for me. But there's a price to pay for that. You're always going to be giving away too much of yourself in the end. So many people have done that in the past. It comes through in their past life stories. They come back into this lifetime. They seem to play it out again in some kind of way. And hopefully a lot of them who come to an astrologer will be able to point that out for them. We'll be able to go, you've done this before. You've been through this before. And you've come back into this lifetime to fix it all up, to heal it. And a lot of the women who've actually made big, big changes on this level are really, really strong, powerful women now in their own right. They're out there doing their own thing. They've found out who they are. A lot of them have got their own careers and their own businesses and doing some amazing stuff with their lives after they've realized how much they've given away before and how they've come back into this lifetime. Only for one reason, and the one reason is to break that chain and become, the strong, independent 21st century woman that they're supposed to be this time around. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes with us before. And when I do readings, I spend a lot of time talking about the past life stuff, for sure.
And I think what's helpful with that past life energy too is there's that feeling, because it feels like the energy is doubled. It's like really strong to say, let's not do this. Let's not take it around again, right. Make sure you get it right this time.
Very
and
much
at
so.
least release it. I know it's not about getting it right, but at least release this energy so that we have the freedom of it. So yeah, I love the way that you've explained that and really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm just, looking at the time, and I think it's fantastic where we've gone in the conversation. It's so important for people to understand that it is a healing tool, as you said, not just this idea of a
It really
horoscope,
Yeah, it's so not that now,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate, that a lot of people still think of astrology in that vein, but it's possibly one of the best healing tools that I know, because astrology answers your questions. It gives you the why behind everything. That's what I love about astrology. You ask a question and astrology will answer it. It will say, this is it. This is where it's coming from. This is where you could be trapped. This is how you could be feeling. It
Yeah.
actually says, it actually gets that specific with you. And then it actually says, this is how you can work it out. This is how you can change it. This is how you can, this is what you can do. Um, and that's the beauty of astrology. It never leaves anything dangling. It never really has anything that's kind of, you know, elusive or any. It really hits you right between the eyes with what's going on.
Mm.
And as I said, it's always out. It's always out for your highest good. It truly is. It's out for you. It's out for you to become the happiest, more fulfilled, more whole person that you need to be, because that's what the soul has come here to do. Because the soul, even the soul itself, even outside of this body, is expanding. We're the universe representing the universe here in our bodies. And the universe is constantly expanding on itself. The soul is expanding on itself. So coming down onto the planet, this is cutting edge stuff for a soul. It really is. This is big work for a soul to come down onto the planet and to do the work here, because it's tough. It's going to be a tough ride for the soul. And so if the soul can do this, if the soul can do this well and get to the other side of what they want to be down here, then that's huge. That's huge in a soul's evolutionary growth. And so every single planet is really on your side, wanting, it's like barracking for you. It's like they've got
The
your
cheer
flags,
squad.
they're like your cheer squad. Exactly. That's so how they are. And that's how I see it. That's how I see it
Mm.
too. And it's so wonderful when you see it like that, because then you realize how that life is not out to get you. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Everything in life, particularly in astrology, is out to help you and support you and heal you constantly.
Mm.
And I think knowing that is such an important thing,
It is.
to realize that life is on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so much more faith in that too. Like there's a knowing that you can be more confident in it. I like the idea that, people say things like there's no handbook to life. And I think, well, actually there's a map up in the stars. It was actually there when you were born. So that's pretty cool.
And you had a hand in planning it.
Right.
You
Exactly.
sat
You
down
actually
and
mapped it all out and said, oh
and you
yeah,
worked it
maybe
all
I
out
need
and
to
said,
learn more of that.
exactly, I'm going to need more of this, and I'm going to need more of that. Yeah. You had a hand in designing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't just it wasn't given to you. It didn't just arrive in the mail.
That's
You
right.
you you sat down with them and you worked it all out with them. Exactly what you needed for this lifetime. Um, and what I want to underscore too is have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun. Laugh. Enjoy yourself. Don't take everything so seriously.
That's right.
That's so important.
Mhm.
Laughter is one of the best medicines, really is. And people know that, when people are in a joyous environment and there's lots of laughter around and there's lots of, high energy and mirth, people do recover a lot quicker.
Mm.
It's a healing tool in itself. So having a life where there is a lot of joy and a lot of laughter and a lot of silliness, so important.
Yeah.
So
I'm
important.
definitely in for that.
Well, me too these days. You get bogged
Yeah.
down. You get
Takes a
bogged down. I've
while.
got to do this. I've got
That's
to do
right.
that. You've got
Yeah.
the whole frowny face going on.
Hmm.
And you think, no, come on,
Yeah.
chill out, kick back,
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah.
So important.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I think that's a great note to end on, as far as having a good laugh and remembering to not take it so seriously. I do want you to tell us about, because you have a free gift for everyone, which is awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little webinar I did probably about 2 or 3 years ago now. It's called Soul Healing through Forecasting. So I use some forecasting techniques in astrology, but it's more about what I've just pretty much what I've just talked about then. It's very much about how we can understand what the soul is here to do and how the planets are all coming into alignment with that. It's a really good little webinar. It goes for about an hour, I think, or an hour and a half or something like that. So I'm giving that out as a gift, and I'm sure a lot of people hopefully will enjoy it, maybe learn a little bit about astrology. And I run a school. Um, Charlie's been part of it.
I have, yes. So please do tell everyone, because I believe you've got an enrollment coming up soon. So it would be great to tell
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I Sydney Astrology School is my school. It's an online astrology school, but it's an international astrology school. So I've got students from all over the world now. And it takes a year to go through the whole course. But you can find out all the information from our website. But I'll just put up out this little my little flyer. Um, so you might have to make me, Charlie, you
Oh,
might have to
okay.
make me the co-host
Okay.
so I
So
can put that up.
how am I doing that?
Um,
Can you do it now?
here we go. So can you see that, Charlie?
I can now, yes. What a
Great,
nice.
fantastic. So that's the school.
Yeah.
We have an intake on June 17. So that's a level 1 intake. And so you get the webinars, you get live webinars with me every single week. They're not pre-recorded, they're all
Right.
live.
They're all
And you
live.
can ask questions directly every week in the webinars. You get class notes every week, and they can be compiled into a little handbook with all the notes you get from the class. Videos go up every now and again, so you can actually see things in action. We use a lot of class charts. Your charts will go up in class, so we can actually see what's happening in your lives as well. You can meet your other classmates with some Zoom meetings. And there's homework involved, but you don't have to do homework. If you're not a homework person, you don't have to do it. But at the same time, I always encourage the homework because I feel that that's a really good way to learn. And I actually give you feedback on your homework. So it's very hands-on. It's one of those courses that I don't just, sign you up and disappear. I'm there. I'm right in there with you.
You
Um,
definitely are. No, I can highly recommend it. I have been on so many different online learning, and yours is definitely it's a school. It's an educational process, and I love that. I love the connecting and the fact that you are right there answering all the questions and explaining it each time. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Charlie. So go to Sydney Astrology School as SYDNEY, sydneyastrologyschool.com is our website. And all the information you need is there. And if you want to sign up, you can sign up now if you want to. Yeah.
Fabulous. And also your newsletter is very helpful as well, because you always give the
Yeah, yeah. You can go onto the website on our homepage. It's got a subscribe button. So subscribe and you get our newsletter every month. I do YouTube clips all the time talking about particular astrology topics and just what's going on at the moment and certain things to do with certain planets. I do little mini courses on a particular planet. And so there's heaps and heaps of YouTube clips with all that kind of stuff as well.
fabulous. Thank you so much, Mark. It's been a fabulous conversation. I know people will really enjoy it.
Thank
So
you, Charlie.
yeah, it's been such a
Been
pleasure.
wonderful time spending with you and lovely to be able to share astrology with everybody out there in the world too.
Thank you so much. Bye for
Thank you,
now.
Charlie.
Bye.